Kevin, welcome to Miss Immigrant USA podcast, which is called Wise Immigrant, where we talk with candidates who are running for different positions. And we are so happy to have you. How are you today?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Perfect, perfect. It's beautiful summer day in New York City. How is Texas? Is it hot?
Oh, it's a little bit hot, yes, but it's not as hot as it has been in past years, which is a relief. So
Yes. What's the temperature, for example, today?
today we had a high of about 91,
It's pretty
so
hot.
a
Yeah.
little warm.
Yes. You get used to it, yes?
Yeah, you do.
Yes, great. So, Kevin, uh, we invited you because we would love to know your story, where you're coming from, who is Kevin as a candidate, and most importantly, as a person, what shaped him, and what was the turning point that make you decide to run for Congress? So please share with us as much as you can.
Well, certainly. So, yes, my name is Kevin Burge. I'm originally from Los Alamos, New Mexico.
Hmm.
And I've lived all over the country, Florida and North Carolina and DC. I was a United States Marine, and I have two tours in Iraq. I worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency for several years, and I did another deployment to Afghanistan. And from there, I worked in the intelligence community for many years and finished out my time in the government at the White House. And I worked in the White House Situation Room for about 2.5 years. So that's who I am. It's really a life of public servant, uh, serving the American people, serving the Constitution. And what really made me run was a combination of many things. One of the big ones is the current administration and its stances on the Constitution, and how it also, and more importantly to me personally, how they treat the immigrant community. And my wife being an immigrant, she is from Honduras. She came here as a child and, went through the struggle that many immigrants face, especially coming at a young age. But really feeling that this is an adopted country for her and that she has decided to give back as well. So she's now an officer in the Texas Army National Guard. And to hear the rhetoric that comes from this administration, to include my current representative, is really appalling. I don't find that to be in the best character of who we are as Americans. And so that's one of the big reasons that I decided to step up and run for office.
Mhm. Was it like one day that you woke up and you said, let me do it, or did it grow on you with time?
So yeah, being in the federal government for so long, you're not allowed to participate in partisan politics.
Mhm.
So I faithfully abided by the Hatch Act. I did not get involved in partisan politics. Um, and after I stepped away from the government, I had an interaction with my dad, and uh, he was in a heightened emotional state. He is a big MAGA supporter, and President Trump, who was a candidate at the time, was shot at, and so a lot of emotions came out of my dad that were very derogatory towards the immigrant community, uh, Haitians in particular. And then he disparaged the American flag, which is what I served for many years. And so between those two things and thinking, if this is the rhetoric that my dad hears on a daily basis with an immigrant family, with a family who speaks Spanish, what does everybody else think who doesn't has no connection to the immigrant community? It can't be any better. So that was definitely I knew at that point that I needed to get involved. And I decided to lean on my many years of experience in the government to choose this office and step up and run for it.
So, Kevin, first of all, thank you for your service. And please send as well thank you to your dear wife for her service.
Certainly.
We appreciate it. And I have a question. What is
Sure.
the situation room?
The Situation Room. So the Situation Room is it's a series of conference rooms and a watch floor that is in the White House. And this is we call it the nerve center of intelligence, the nerve center of America, you could even say.
Mhm,
If anything happens across the world, those notifications typically make their way to the Situation Room. It's also a place where the president will come down and he'll have secure meetings and talk about what to do, what actions need to be taken.
mhm,
And so famously, President Obama was photographed in the Situation Room during his presidency, around the time that the Bin Laden raid was happening.
mhm,
And so if you remember that really famous picture, that happened in the Situation Room.
mhm.
Um, 9/11 happened, and a lot of the planning for responses happened in the Situation Room. So it's a secure meeting room specifically for the president.
Thank you for explaining that. Uh, so you mentioned that you joined the Marine Corps at a very young age. That's as well a very serious decision for a young gentleman to uh, to make this decision.
Mhm.
What what um what led you this way? What happened at the time that you decided to go and join?
Certainly, yes. So I was 17 years old when I signed my name on the paperwork. My mom had to co-sign with me and for me because I was a minor. But it really was, I've always wanted to serve my country.
Mhm,
And 9/11 had happened not too long in it recently happened.
mhm.
And, that
What
calling and that desire to serve really spurred me
mhm.
to sign up.
Was it in 2001 that you signed up or
So
the
I
year
signed
after?
up, yeah, I signed up in 2002.
Mhm,
And then I went to boot camp in 2003. And yeah, I turned 20 while deployed in Iraq for the
mhm.
first tour. And then, so yeah, very, very young age. Looking back at it, it was a very big decision for such a young person to make.
Yes. Yes, I can only imagine. Probably you were one of the youngest, right?
Yeah, a lot of young people. The oldest person in boot camp with me was 26. So, at the same time, he was also pretty old, considering that all of us were, 18, 19 years old.
On our podcast, we talk a lot about immigrant identity and belonging. And you mentioned that your wife came from Honduras as a child and later became a US citizen. How has her story shaped your understanding of immigration?
Oh, certainly. So, I grew up in the South. I grew up in Florida, North Carolina, mostly. And so my exposure to the immigrant community was really not a lot. And so, everything that I knew about immigration and foreign people were all filtered to me through organizations, my church or the news. or meeting a few people at school. So I really wasn't exposed to what the immigration system was, and how it impacted people who were trying to find a better life. And so, meeting my wife, listening to her story, and then going through the immigration process to get her paperwork corrected, and eventually, the green card and then citizenship. It's a very long, hard process that if you don't have very trustworthy people helping to guide you, and you don't have the financial resources, it becomes almost impossible, and rife for abuse and corruption along the entire process.
Mm.
So it really, it was eye-opening both in like these are some of the reasons that people come to the United States.
Mhm.
These are the stories that so many people share as they immigrate here. And then the process to do it the right way, as many people say, can be almost impossible.
And when you went through the immigration process with her, what did you learn that many Americans may not understand?
So I learned first and foremost that it is absolutely imperative to get a really good lawyer.
Mm.
And that's not cheap. If you find a cheap lawyer, you're probably going to be taken advantage of, or there's a higher than likely chance that you could be taken advantage of, and your situation will not be resolved the way that it should be. So that was the first big thing that I learned was having legal representation is extremely important, and having a trustworthy lawyer is extremely important. Um, but also, the fact that, I learned a whole lot more about immigration judges.
Mm.
I learned how casework was handled. I learned that many immigrants are stopped, or at least back when she came over, that many immigrants were actually stopped at the border, processed, and released. And so they actually had paperwork in the system. It's just that the processing of the paperwork is, like I said, very difficult and
Slow
confusing.
and
Yeah,
slow.
and slow. And very slow, yes. So yeah, very eye-opening.
Mhm. Uh, so you said as well that she joined the Texas National Guard, right? Um, what drove her to that decision as an immigrant? You would think she had no obligation, no connection. It's a new country for her, a new home, but still she decided that she wants to give back, like you said before.
Hmm.
And
So I,
how her being an immigrant influence on that. I think,
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of times I think there's a misunderstanding in the fact that immigrants, when they come here, they don't want to be American, or they want to just bring their culture with them. And that's not necessarily the case. I've heard it explained in that America becomes a foster parent. And so, you know, as a stepchild, you want to belong to the family. And so, that drive to belong, especially coming over at such a young age, and really integrating and learning the American culture, it gives people a sense of belonging. And I believe that's the same for my wife as well. This is her country. She is a United States citizen. She is an American. And we are a family of service and duty. And so she did the same thing. She stepped up and decided to serve.
Mhm. And what about you? How do you feel about immigrant identity? And what is your family history?
Certainly. So to answer your first question, I absolutely love that America is made up of so many diverse cultures.
Mhm.
Um, I love even here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I get to travel the entire world within a 30-minute span. Um, I've gone to an Afghan restaurant down the street. There's really good Indian restaurants here. I get Mexican food. I get to learn about different cultures and religions at work and at the park. And so it's really, really fun to be able to see and experience so many different cultures around the world right here in our backyard. Um, and that's really what makes the Dallas-Fort Worth area special as well, is that it is such a diverse area,
Mhm.
and we get to experience it. But my background is pretty much fully English. Um, my part half of my family came over probably in the 1600s, and they kind of different waves trickled in from there, and
Mhm.
we moved from the East Coast all the way out to the West Coast or to New Mexico is the farthest we've made it. But we've been here in the United States for as long as Europeans have been here.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, very, that's my story.
So probably your family come from the first settlers in America.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely before the Revolutionary War for some of the family members, but
Mhm.
um, yeah.
Yes, we talk about immigrant identity because we notice that it's not only about the documents. It's not about if you are the citizen or you have a green card or you don't have. It seems like this is something more inside you, what you bring with you. And sometimes even we had opportunity to meet people who are second or third generation Americans, and they still feel more connected to their roots, to their parents or grandparents who came from the motherland, whichever it is, than, for example, somebody who just obtained a citizenship, a few years after coming.
Hmm.
Uh, so we like to learn what candidates and people all over the country think about it, especially that the word immigrant is it's kind of a dirty word, and probably as you know what your wife goes through and all other immigrants. Uh, so do you see, for example, in your district, uh, what the immigrant families and other working families, what do you hear from them regarding immigrant identity, belonging, the culture that they hold inside them? Do they feel comfortable? Do they fear? Do they see that America is going into the right direction to embrace them?
Mm. So, to hit on your first point, I think it is human nature to always feel connected to the place that you come from.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I I miss New Mexico often, and I try to go back there to get some chili and an egg burrito and smell the fresh mountain air and relive some of my childhood memories. And I think that's absolutely natural to do for just human nature. Um, but at the same time, we typically here in this country, I think historically have not been very welcoming to immigrants, no matter where they came from. There's a long history of even other European people coming at certain points, the Irish and the Italians. some of the immigration laws that we put on the book in the 1800s around Chinese families and workers from the West Coast. And I think today we're in a unique and challenging situation as well because of the rhetoric that this administration puts out on a near daily basis. Um, and it seems to target different immigrant groups at different times. And so, like when the campaign was going on for presidency, we saw that the Haitian community was targeted very heavily. Um, and then after the election, the Hispanic community was targeted very heavily, and a lot of money was put into ICE, and those agents were directed to go after certain individuals, and by and large, those are Hispanic individuals. And then today, we're really starting to see this administration shift towards the Muslim community and the Indian community. And you see that very a lot here in this district because we have a large uh, population of Southeast Asians,
Mm.
Indians, Muslims, Sikhs, and the the local politicians, my representative, my opponent right now, included, likes to talk about a immigrant takeover or a Muslim takeover or a Sharia law takeover up in Frisco, which is out of my district but not too far from us. There's a very large Indian population, and a lot of white supremacists have decided that they were going to go up there and make it heard that the Indian community was not welcome in Texas. And many of these Indian people are citizens. A lot of them serve on the town council of Frisco and in the city government, and they're pillars of the community. They're hardworking people. They want to very much do the work that they do, participate in the American way of life, and it's been very difficult for them and for the people in my district as well currently.
Mm. And nobody's doing anything to fight with that. It's hard.
It is. It's very hard. I am in the Democratic Party. Our party stands against this. My campaign manager helped to get one of the first Muslim Americans elected to the Texas state legislature.
Mhm.
And so, we really are trying to ensure that our communities are valued in completeness, not, this group and that group, and that we're all fighting each other and their values are not our values. We're really trying to make sure that people know that these are American values. These are members of our community, and they are welcome to participate in the American dream just the way that we are.
So probably the biggest problem is the that what you as well mentioned about your dad knew yourself, like you didn't know the immigrant people, I put it in quotation mark, uh, until you met your wife, you see what she went through, or you guys had to go through together. Now you have kind of immigrant family, so you learn more. And as well as we go with life, we learn more, we experience more. And probably for your dad, it's still kind of like far away, something maybe see on a movie or here on TV. So
Mhm.
there is no maybe mixing or like experiences that you can meet someone from somewhere else and you can learn. Oh, like for example, I in the past met this lady from Bangladesh and then we became friends. And I would never think I'm going to have a friend from Bangladesh. I mean, we are so different, or
Mhm.
from China, from Chinese community.
Mhm.
But now I see the whole Chinese community or Bangladeshi community differently because of those two people that I met and I personally experienced.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I would understand your dad.
Yes.
So probably we need to create something to mix the people more.
Yeah, we need to, cultural exchange is definitely very important. Knowledge is very important. And just because you do meet other people and you become friends with them, it doesn't make you any less you. And it's very important in my viewpoint to travel as well. As you travel, you start to reckon the perceptions that you have from media um, with the realities of how people live on a daily basis. And I don't mean like going to an all-inclusive resort and hanging out with other Americans. I mean going to other countries and sincerely learning, listening, and watching how other people live. And when you do that, you start to realize that, we are all humans. We all have the desires for safety and wanting a better future for our children and needing health care and wanting to have good education. And, it's these are the human things that no matter what you look like or what you believe, what religion you follow, these are human aspects that make us all the same. So, yes, to be able to somehow uh, open people's eyes if they don't have the need or the money to travel, it would be, it'd be really fun. It is fun.
But like you mentioned, you don't need much. Like in your area, you can go to a lot of different places, communities which are so diverse. I'm here in New York as well. Queens, I mean, basically New York over 100 different countries. Um, so you don't really have to go far and spend much in order to experience. You just need to want.
That's partially true. So, for example, my dad lives in Espanola, New Mexico.
Mm.
It is literally the middle of nowhere. The nearest airports are an hour to an hour and a half away. To go anywhere outside of your little bubble, it does take time and money and planning. Other than that, you have New Mexicans and some Anglos that live there, and that's it. That's your whole worldview. So it can be difficult, especially the more rural you get in America. Um, and also a lot of Americans don't have a passport and they don't travel. So yeah, it's difficult. But at the same time, when people do meet somebody of a different culture, Americans too are very much like, oh, well, tell me about yourself, that's interesting, that's cool. And it becomes completely separated from that rhetoric of what you hear on the TV and hear from these politicians. It's again a human connection.
What is one lesson from the Marines that you still carry with you every day?
Um, I think there's a certain level of discipline that I carry with me, especially when it comes to getting things done. You set your goal, you set a mission for yourself, and then you accomplish that goal. And so, right now I have a 6-year-old son. My wife works and does the National Guard. I work and running the campaign.
Mhm.
And so to be able to say, these are my goals, and then have that discipline to accomplish each of those goals, that's the biggest takeaway from the Marine Corps for me.
If you could speak directly to immigrant families watching, what would you want them to know?
So, first and foremost, Americans are not what you hear on the TV, and they are not what you hear from politicians. Um, Politicians and the news, they all have an agenda to either stay in power or to make money,
Mhm.
or there's always something behind the screen. And oftentimes they use the immigrant community to maintain that power. But secondly, if you can vote, do it. Research the candidates, listen to what they have to say, listen to how they talk about the immigrant community and their community in general,
Mhm.
and then make an informed decision and go to the polls and vote. That is how we need to make sure that our voice is heard and how we make change in this country.
What gives you hope right now?
You know, my son gives me hope. He's 6 years old, smart as can be. He speaks fluent English and fluent Spanish. And just to see him on a daily basis, making it in this world despite the craziness that goes on, it's really hopeful, and it's also motivating to me. Like I want to make sure that I leave a world to him that's better than the one that I came into. And so it he gives me hope, he gives me joy, and a lot of motivation to continue doing what I'm doing.
As we are on Wise Immigrant Podcast, we ask our guests about sharing their wisdom. What is some wisdom from your life experiences that you would like others to know about?
Hmm, that is a very deep question.
It is. Hmm.
Um, hmm. Today may be hard, but if you put your mind to it, you can make it through it. Um, Things change on a daily basis, situations change, um, the people around you change, but you can persevere if you put your mind to it and you have the will and the hope. So I think that's a big one for me as well. No matter how dark the day may be, we have a choice and we can make it through to tomorrow.
I agree with you. That's very wise, Kevin.
Thank you.
Um, if anyone would like to learn more about you, where they can find more informations.
So I am on all the social medias. Um, you can go learn a little bit about me kind of on a daily basis from there. Kevin Burge for Congress.
Mhm.
Um, and you can get to all those social media platforms through my website,
Mhm.
which is kevinfortexas.com, all spelled out, kevinfortexas.com. Um, and we're building that out as well since we're just now transitioning to the general election. So we're expanding that website, and there'll be more pictures and some of our
Mhm.
top issues that we care about, I care about, and the community cares about. So.
By the way, congratulations on moving forward.
Thank you, thank you. Like I said in the beginning, I was not a politician, and so all of this is new to me. And just like going through the immigration system, I've learned so much going through the political system now. But we're gonna use this platform as a way to make our future better.
Kevin, thank you so much for joining us here on Wise Immigrant Podcast, for your time, for sharing your life experiences, your family experiences. And thank you for taking this journey and fighting for all of us.
Certainly. Thank you so much for having me on. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye bye for now.
Bye.
Bye, Kevin.